So we're live?
I believe we're live. So first of all, everybody that is on the meeting, please let us know that you are able to hear us well, and then you can see the screen. And after that, we start
Do
this.
we have a chat option?
Yeah, we do have chat
the
here.
chat is there.
So just let us know. I'm gonna write something on the chat now. And if everybody's listening to us, we are good to go.
Where's the chat thing?
Right here. Can you see it?
Ah, there it is.
Got it.
Hey, Herman, welcome. Abdul, welcome. And I think that is Kosinki. Thank you for showing up and hanging out with us for a little bit. Can you hear us? Okay, because everybody's answering, so I think that they can hear us. That's great.
Yep.
So, welcome everybody. This is the XAFers community stand-up. It's just first of all, I have to say that I'm really excited to be here. I have been following Manuel and Jose work for a long time, so being in the same meeting with them and talking with them and hanging out, this is a dream come true. So after that, the whole purpose of this stand-up is just talk about the amazing work that the DevExpress team is doing, the community is doing, checking the contributions that everybody has, the models that are out there, the expand, Yamachan, ultra models, all the work that our community is doing. And that will give us a place for every month, once a month, second Thursday of every month, to get here and highlight the new features, everything that we're excited about, everything. Just a second, there is someone else, let me admit it. Every work that we are doing, if we want to share any personal project, if we want to share any interesting support ticket. So we're going to do it every month, second Thursday of every month, and I'm really excited about keeping this forward. I believe that there is a big strength on the community in getting together. We all have been a solo developer for a long time, and when we get together, we are strong. We come up with more ideas. Just take a look at Microsoft. When they open source, everything has gone crazy from the amount of .NET developers that is growing daily. So first, before we start, I'm pretty sure the only one that nobody knows here is me, but I want Manuel to introduce himself. I want Jose to introduce himself, and then we move forward from there.
Javier, you have to say which Manuel, because remember, we have all the same names here.
Yeah, you're right. That's why I say Manuel and Jose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Manuel, go ahead. Your time.
Yeah. If XF people know myself or my blog, it's on blog.delegate.at. I'm a XF developer for almost 10 years now. I'm a DevExpress MVP. Do really a lot of stuff, playing around with .NET and JavaScript and Blazor and.
I have a question for you. I mean, most people don't know where you're from, so maybe you have to say the location. Where are you located?
Yeah, I'm in Austria, Graz. So I'm in southern Austria. There's beautiful landscapers and wine and developers. Oh no, and yeah.
Well, it's a place to visit then.
It's a nice place to be there, yeah. And
okay.
Yeah, I guess that's it. So, Jose.
Okay, now it's my turn. My name is Jose Manuel, so I have both names. Everyone call me Jose, basically. I'm an DevExpress MVP also. I mean, I'm the newest one, I think, or the last one. I've been working with SAF since day one. We started to work with Developer Express components since the version in Visual Basic 6.
Whoa.
So a really long time ago. Basically, I love the architecture of SAF and XPO. And once I got to know SAF, I decided, well, I don't want to do a screen anymore by hand. I don't want to drag controls anymore. I will do everything auto-generated. So, and I'm really bad with the UIs. I mean, I remember my first boss told me like, hey, like your software works great, but you need to work on your screens. So after I got to work with XAFers. I said like, well, no more screens. This is my thing. I'm going all in. So I'm from El Salvador also. And at the moment, I'm in the United States. I live in St. Petersburg, Russia. You might see it from my background, I think. But I'm in Arizona at the moment till Russia opened the borders for non-Russian people like me.
The next time I should change my screens to cows.
Yeah, to something like, to Austrians, some Austrian stuff. Okay, Javier, maybe you can go ahead with the agenda.
Sure. So before moving forward, the first thing that I want to say, if every XAFers out there, please be safe. Things are crazy right now. The world is in scary time. And if you check here, we are more than 1.5 million cases. So please take care of your family, take care of yourself, and just be safe. Stay home. I want to move forward because the people that are here on the meeting, and most probably they are on our XAF group, but people watching the video later on, maybe they are not. So I want to encourage everybody to please join us in our XAF group here, XAF XPO, so we can discuss. You can put your questions, you can check what we are working on. So that would be a nice way for the community to get together. I will always say there is a power in community. We can, even if we get together, we can maybe even steer the express in the direction that we want for some specific features, some specific things. I want to.
That works, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to also say for everybody who joins later on or watch the video later on, follow Manuel. This is his blogs. A lot of awesome posts right here. Follow Jose. Same thing.
Go on tags and on the XAF series.
Right here.
Like the largest one, I guess. You can search for XAF up front, or it's the latest one. But yeah, like almost every it's like hundreds of posts I did. So.
And there is a lot of really good information here. I have read this book and this blog back and forward a lot of time, and I'm always referring to it. So please take a look at here. There are a lot of nice information. Same thing for the blog that Jose has. Please go there. Feel free to browse around, and you will find a lot of neat information.
Javier, actually, you can say something. I mean, regarding my blog, is that usually most of my followers speak Spanish, actually not English, but you can switch the language here. That's why I put the bar, so you can translate the articles. Post. Yes, exactly. So because most of my people that follow me, they speak Spanish, actually not English. So I know that most people speak both in general, but if you want to change to your language, then you have the flags above, so you can change to your native language.
The nice thing about your blog is, I guess, it's there's much stuff that's inspiring to me as well, because there is so much nitty-gritty details, like with for example, with connecting with how's it called, the query language, GraphQL and stuff like this.
Yeah.
I played around with a lot of stuff, and I never got it working, or never thought of it in this way. So it's really a nice edge craft where I get inspired from as well. And I am working with this stuff like for 10-15 years right now. So it's really good content.
For me, it's the same, that I always try to go and follow someone else, like what they are doing, to check, I mean, what they're doing actually, and to get inspired, because when you've been in a technology for so long, I used to say to my customers, okay, I will do a research, and then I will tell you if this is possible. Basically, right now, my answer is, this is code, as you said before, Manuel, last time we met, remember? This is code. Basically, everything is possible. It all depends on the time constraints and in the money constraints. So regarding code, I know that it's possible. So I used to do the research before and spend a lot of time doing research. But after a while, I figured out, basically everything is possible as long as you push enough time and money. So,
that's the thing,
so I started following blogs to get inspired to see, okay, how XPO will work in Ubuntu, how XPO will work if I do it with machine learning, how XPO will work in IoT scenarios. So I mean, those are little projects that you do like in your free time somehow, but they get you excited again about this technology that we have been using for 10 plus years. So
Yeah.
After a while, you say, yes, it's possible. I'm not excited about it, but .NET is so open right now in all the ways that you can imagine. Like
Yeah.
web, you can handle all the web scenarios that you want, all the operative systems. Basically, you can run XPO in a refrigerator if you want. So
you can, and
I mean, as long as you have
think
something
you will.
and I will, because actually, well, you don't know about this, but I'm planning to release a series of XPO everywhere, like running in any type of strange machine. So I will try to make
cool.
it run. I will try to make it run on. You pick a device, a random device, and I will try to make it run there.
Okay, next time we roll a dice, and then I send you a device, and you can make it work on there.
Yeah, that will be fun, actually, a lot of fun.
Okay,
and that's the good thing about community, because especially when you're a solo developer and you talk with somebody else, you read somebody else's blogs, first it gives you validation of you are going in the right path. I'm doing the right thing because my train of thought is similar to Manuel, to somebody that I look up to. And the second thing is, like, sometimes you see an angle that you never thought before. I say, hey, look, this way of doing things. This is really neat. So again, that's the whole purpose of growing the SAF community, and we're trying to push that because that's the way to make the framework more powerful, and not only that, to make the framework last. So we know that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we still have SAF and we still are doing everything we love. So again, thank you guys. And I want to bring attention to everybody that Pluralsight is free. So if you want to watch a lot of course right now, this is the moment. If you are staying at home, like they say there, skill up. All the month of April is going to be free. And if things keep going like they are right now, I'm pretty sure they're going to extend it another more month. So go for it right now. I would like everybody also to take a look at XAFers Weekly. We are sending an email weekly publication of all relevant links, all more contribution of the community, blogs of DevExpress. So we're trying to go and check everything that is new out there in the week, or sometimes it's an old ticket or an old post, but it's really relevant for something that we are doing right now. So we just posted there. So please feel free to subscribe and let me know what you think. Any feedback is welcome. Again, join us on Facebook, on our group. We also have the XAFers Jobs website that is not really being used right now. There are a lot of XAFers that register, but I think that our community, and I have seen that in a lot of places like Freelance, Upwork, that we don't have a place for the XAF jobs to post their companies. I don't think that is being used that much. So again, we have a lot of, at least they say they have a lot of XAFers sign up. So I think that we need to try to push this type of movement a little more every time. Dennis, we all know Dennis from DevExpress. He just brought this virtual assistant as a test, I believe. So it's a way to do a type of conversational UI. So we can, instead of frequent asked question, we can put it here and it will give us the answer right away without having to have a support person. I said really nice technology. It's the Q&A maker from Azure. I have played with it a little bit in the past, and to get it really right, there is a lot of things about intent, context. But I think that this is a start where we can put, I don't know, SAF mobile, and it will give you some answers. Let's take a look here. So if you guys are at home later on and you are bored, play with it. Let's give him some feedback. Maybe we can get something nice out of this. I'm gonna keep moving with the Blazor roadshop. Jose and I, we have and Jose, please show your teacher. We have the
last ones.
The opportunity to be on the last Blazor roadshop, and it's a shame that it was canceled, but it's better to be safe. Most important is that everybody at home is keeping safe. But they are now changing to a more digital platform, so they are every day. They have a couple dates, and they are already passed for March, April, and there are a few comments where car flanking is actually giving. a complete.
Javier, I think we should invite Carl Franklin to one of these meetups. I mean, it would be nice to have it to have him here, especially when Developer Express released the Blazor version of the.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of Blazor. All the why I'm inviting people to watch this is because it gives you a lot of concept and the foundation for then later on use or SAF Blazor. From there, that's really nice. From there, I would like to show the last blog post of DevExpress about SAF, the tips and tricks that was released on April 1st. And there are a lot of interesting support tickets. And I think that reading the support tickets has become an habit of mine. I do it every day just to see what's new out there, what's going on. But one of the things that I like about these tips is this little view customized view controller. That way we don't have to hook up to any event. We don't have to subscribe, unsubscribe. We can right there customize any view item that we need. So I thought that was neat and
really
worth it to bring that up here.
By the way, because you said reading the XF forums, it's like there's one thing I'm not sure how it's right now with the new support center, but that's the way I learned XF the most, is like subscribing to the XF support tickets and figuring out a way how to solve a specific problem. And every time I was like, okay, that's easy. I can skip that ticket, and I can skip that ticket, and then was like, how can I do this in XAF? That was my whole learning process in getting into really deep into XAF. Nobody has to do this to use XAF, but to really become an expert. It's like a gold resource. Because you don't think every time you can't figure out any possible situation people getting into when using XAF. But if you read the support tickets, it's like gold. That's the same thing with this thing with simplified access to detail editors. I wanted this for 10 years now, and I wrote.
I mean, I guess
10 possible solutions to this kind of problems, but now it's baked in, and now it's there, and it works. That's the neat thing.
Yeah.
No, I agree completely. Actually, reading the support tickets, it has always been a life-changing thing for me, because a lot of time there are some tickets. Yeah, I know this is easy, but there are a lot of ones that are, how the hell did that happen? How did they did that? And not only that, there are a few things that I have tried to do in the past, but because time constraint and other things, I have not done it. And then I have found it here. Oh, this is the solution of this thing that I wanted to do 6 months from now, but I didn't get to it because I didn't have time. I didn't want to spend too much time researching. So yeah, it has been a really great tool for me to actually get better at SAF. So
the thing is, my favorite list in XF support forum is so long I don't find my own tickets anymore. So.
Yeah, we do have the same problem regarding like, bookmarks and favorites. Is that we bookmark everything? So basically, basically you just go there and pick anything. It's already in your bookmark. So mine doesn't even open.
I had to install an extension
for that,
just to search between tickets.
Okay, it's the same thing, but I know it was the favorites list.
I mean, I used to do that, but then I thought like, well, it's a waste of time. Everything is there, so I just go there and search for it.
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. But if I do research for a specific module or item, then it's really handy.
And actually, you might don't know this, Javier, because you're newer in SAF. I mean, not that new, but Manuel and I, we are in SAF since before, or with Developer Express technology since before, and there was no documentation at the beginning. Everything was figured out by yourself how you will do it, and
the
it was just like
documentation
that.
was okay, but almost everything that was like beyond the surface was like.
Yeah, I mean, remember day one, what they say like, okay, you write a class, then you press build, and that's the documentation. Everything else you have to figure out by yourself. Actually, one of the tickets that I post is like, okay, you say that XPO supports 14 different databases. but all your examples only show either Access or SQL Server.
Yeah.
So the ticket where they show all the connection string, I post that ticket, is my ticket. When I ask them, well,
I didn't find this one with the connection strings for like 2 years or something like this, and I grabbed all the source code. But it's okay. That's a thing. That the framework grown. They started with 2 guys or 3, I guess. On the framework, it was like back in the day there was like who's the mastermind?
I think it's Oliver
the
Storm.
German one, Oliver Storm, and Dennis was the support guy for the first row.
Yes.
And then it grown and grown and grown and grown, and then Oliver Storm went away, or it didn't went away, but he left DevExpress for a while, and then he came back, but not at the XAF space. But that's okay. That was great for the product because it could grow, and I think it was a good thing.
Actually, we were looking like trying to dig in all the old posts about SAF and some stuff, and we managed to find the first post about SAF. Remember, Javier, but the link doesn't work anymore because there was an article where they post, I think the application framework should be done like this, and they wrote why, and they wrote the first prototype of SAF. And I remember that it was just there, like in the DevExpress blog.
Do you still have the link? I would.
No, I think
for that.
I think we still
I
have
can
the
send
link.
it to you, and I can also send you another blog post from them that is really nice, where they talk about when they were doing
archaeology.
Yeah, no,
I know, an XPO. We have
We will-
another link of when they were actually doing XPO. They say, no, we are doing XPO following this book. One book that is called Building of Patterns of Enterprise something else from Martin Fowler.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so
book,
good.
you should read
It's
it.
so good. It's a little dark though.
No, I mean, I will not call it dark because it's really clear what they say. I will call it, I don't know.
It's a little bit ancient right now, but the principles are still there. But
exactly.
Yeah.
It's ancient right now because now the main problem for me is that I'm a curious person, and every time I see a new developing pattern or something new, I just have to try it, and it takes a lot of my time.
I guess we should keep the discussion.
Yeah. We should.
Yeah, we don't wanna bore everyone
for later on. So we don't.
Yeah, no, we should write it down for the next next meeting.
To keep moving forward, one of the things that we were just talking about how the community together can actually push to DevExpress to do things. If you check these tickets, there are like 20 tickets similar between web and Windows about property editors and the null text. And right now, they just, for version, this is just still pre-release. If you see here, they haven't pushed the documentation, but they have this really nice property editor null text edit that you will be able to access from the model and in code. When your property is null, you just put the text that you want, like empty thing or loading thing or search for this or whatever you can think of. So again, I think that if we get together as the community, we can actually push more for this type of change.
That's all the stuff that getting feature comparison between Win, Web, Mobile, and Blazor in future. The thing is, I am poking Dennis for I guess 5 years now for a splitter item in Web. So you can drag around the screen. So you can, and it's like 5 years, and I'm the only one, and I guess I'm the only person in the earth that likes splitter items, but that's the kind of thing. If you get feature comparison between the mobile platforms or all the platform features, where you don't have to write specific code for Win, Web, Mobile, Blazor, whatever.
But let me tell you something, a lot of times, a few times you think I'm the only person that I want this, and when you post it and you put it online and you put it visible, you realize that there are 3 more people. The only thing is they are not geographically located with you, but there are more people that are looking for that. So that's what I always that's what I also want to push the community to do. Check what they know. If you know something, you don't have to be an expert. Just put it out there. Most probably it will help somebody. And don't be afraid of imposter syndrome or something like that. Things that you do, like if you do a mistake, that gets fixed quickly. Somebody's gonna tell you, hey, fix this, and then you learn. What you don't learn is when you don't push yourself, when you don't put something out there, when you don't. So please, that will help me to put more nice article on Xafer quickly, and that will help everybody to learn. So,
but Jose, I think this one is a good changeover to Xenial.
Yeah, please.
That's the main thing about this controller is so. That's the main thing I wrote Xenial at all. And for everybody out there that doesn't know Xenial for now, that's the kind of stuff I'm really annoyed for every project I'm starting with XAF. It's like for every customer, I have to do one thing: import some library. I wrote.
Hey Manuel, why don't you, for everybody that doesn't know what is Xenial or what is coming or everything, why don't you start telling?
Yeah.
What is Xenial? What are you?
Yes, and the other thing is, or I have to copy it over. And the thing is that's basically what you have to do with a library. You have to quit your screen share, I guess.
Yeah, let me stop my sharing so you can share your screen. Okay.
Yeah. So where's my screen share? Yeah. Can I do the whole desktop?
Yeah, I think the first in the corner is complete screen or whole desktop, something like that.
That's a thing. It's an extended. So, can you see my screen?
I can see it. Please, everybody, if you have any issue seeing something or listening to something, just let us know on the chat.
I can't see anything anymore. I can see the videos, but I can't see the chat right now. So
yeah, okay, if there is any question or something, Manuel, I will let you know. I'm looking the chat, but we can definitely see your screen and your presentation right
okay. I'll just give me a timer, like 10 minutes or something like this. I really rush through this. Xenial is like is an extension based on. It isn't an extension based on XAF. It's an application framework based on. Okay, I almost forgot. What does Xenial even mean? Then the verb or the noun Xenial is like hospital, especially for visiting strangers, foreigners, or of the relationship between a host and a guest, mostly friendly. My definition is for Xenial as a framework, it doesn't get into your way, it just gets the job done. It's like a tool wrench belt getting really medium-sized application out there. It is opinionated, but it's flexible, so you can use whatever you want from the framework without paying any cost. So in terms of technical perspective, it's a little bit like Expand, but it's not like you have to buy all at once in. You can nitty-picky choose from parts of the application. And the major goal is to make medium-sized to large-scale applications easier, especially if you have like multiple device fragment scales, mobile, web, Xamarin, database triggers, stuff like this. So everything you have to deal right now as an application developer. Like you have to fetch from a database periodically, getting error reporting out of that, stuff like this. But it's also based on XAF. So you can just use the XAF parts. And as I said, it's highly modular, flexible, and I really try to put stuff really intelligent together, so pieces fit into each other without interfering with other frameworks or with Xwant, for example. And the best thing about Xenial is it's basically the core I worked on almost 10 years. So it's battle tested in production for 10 plus L years. I guess that's a wrong. That's something wrong with my slides, but okay. It's 10+ years now in production. Some parts of it are totally new, and some parts of it are I have to rewrite. So because of legal reasons. But the thing is, that's going to go on a product. And that's the major parts of Xenial. So there are utilities, dev tools, the framework itself, there are platform and business modules. And then on top of that, there will be a platform as a service, software as a service layer. And you can use each layer more or less independent from bottom up. So if you use the utilities, you can use them. If you just use the dev tools, just use them. If you just use the framework, just use the framework and up. If you start to going into business modules and the platform, you can host this stuff yourself. And for platform as a service, it's like Visual Studio Online, or as it's called now, VSDS, Azure DevOps kind of stuff, where you can use parts of the software to integrate in your stuff or monitor your stuff. So it's a really large stack, but we are that will take some time to get a really fine product out of it. So just get a quick overview. With Xenial Utils, it's almost a bag of utilities, like all the stuff I deal all the time when I'm developing line of business applications or not line of business application, all kind of XAF applications or not even. So it's firewall configuration rules, file system extractions, getting into resource management, blah, 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 blah. All the kind of stuff I really, really need every day or almost need for every application I write. It's like, this is a WinForms or application developer utility spell. Use it, it's on NuGet or it will be on NuGet. Great documentation out there, use it, it's free. Then there is the next thing, that's our dev tools. That's really, really all the tools I use to develop applications, test them, load test them, getting into CI/CD, getting database working, command line tools for getting new controllers or all kind of stuff that makes me productive with refactorings and all like that stuff that I normally use when developing an XAF application, and not only an XAF application as writing, also for monitoring. So getting log files out of applications, stuff like this. Not the part of this talk today. Xenial framework is like expand or Express framework. That's the main product. The thing is, all of Xenial framework is modular, so you only pay for the stuff. You only pay the cost, the runtime cost of what you use in the framework. Like writing an extension method, like in ASP.NET Core, you write in Startup CS, use static files. It's the same thing here. Use label property editor, and you're good to go. But you also can say, okay, use Xenial, and you have everything you have to offer, everything Xenial has to offer. That's the thing. It is like almost always the balance between convenient and fine granular use. That's the main idea. And the main thing is, it's only distributed via NuGet. No installers, you can have like 17 different versions of Xenial in use on one machine for one project. There are no installers. There is no 16.6 installer that breaks 16.7, for example. Just it is focused on CI/CD. It's focused on code, and there's so much stuff in there I can't show even. Just a few keywords. File preview is like a file preview module, a little bit like the Office module from XAF, where they have the Excel thing and Word thing together. How's it called? Snap module. But for file preview. So it's PDF, images, text files, HTML, emails, Outlook messages, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And it's modular. You can pipe in AutoCAD files, you name it. There's a search module where you can just say, this is my business object, and it generates a search view for your object. Inlet edit forms is a rather neat one, and it's like 100 editors from token to label editor. So it's really, really a lot of stuff in framework itself, but that's not the thing I want to talk about right now. The main thing I'd like to talk about is like what makes Xenial so different to Expand or Safari is I try to use the framework bits itself to break some of the problems I had in the past with growing projects, more teammates that are working on a project, XAFer files that they go out of control because there are too many people working on it with merge conflicts and all the stuff. And a few of development patterns I discovered over the last 10 years. And it was model builders. I talked about that before, I guess. I don't have my blog post open anymore. But the main idea is like getting some kind of aspect-oriented programming to the application model without repeating yourself. And the main idea is it's like, just getting back to my blog real quick. Blog, delegate. I have to search myself. By the way, you can choose a skin down there.
Nice. It's so nice when sometimes you are looking for something and you have to Google
I have no idea. Some of the stuff I wrote ages ago.
But that's the great thing about actually sharing your knowledge. That way you not only do it for the community, sometimes you have to refer to it yourself. So this is great.
Yeah, sure. So let's just a model builder. That's just a quick recap. That's on that was 2013. That's 7 years ago. And the source code is still out there. The idea is the same. It's like taking some kind of class or blah, 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 and putting some kind of builder class around it, like Entity Framework does it. But now it's a little bit more on steroids than before. And the next thing I want to talk about is like layer builders. That's the next thing about that. And then there come column builders. I haven't something to show about it, and page object. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes for a quick demo.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, please.
You can read about the fluid model builder pattern on my blog. I will just go ahead and say like this was this not bad. Was this one? This one, or just search for Fluent on my blog?
Yeah, I will put it on the description of the video when we publish this.
So the main idea behind model builders itself is like, let's just have a look at the application itself for just a quick moment. It's a normal XAF application. I hope it's in screen. I think that's better.
Yeah.
That's Xenial for now. For the platform part, it's not very pretty, but it does its job for now for me and for my crew. Basically, it's a normal XAF application. Nothing really going on. We have some time tracking part where we can track some start time and end time, for example. It's 19:45, and the end time is, I guess, 21. And then we have a pause time with like 1 hour, and then it just calculates the total time. Nothing too special about this view, but the neat thing is about nothing of this whole application has any XAFer file. There is no model differences file. There isn't. That seems like crazy on the first run, and it is in some parts, because sometimes it's really, really hard to work with, because then I have to, oh, that's the wrong Visual Studio. Sometimes it's really hard, because sometimes something is missing, but you don't have to rely on, you don't have to delete your XAFer to using Xenial. It's just the way I am developing Xenial. I don't like the XAFer file. I like it for other things like develop, but I don't like it for developing itself. So basically, I have a normal XF application. It's nothing very different here, and I have my time tracking module because Xenial is modularized on top of it, and that's all I have in my application. It's just business objects, controllers, reports. There's a settings file because I'm using the new configuration API, and then there's the only thing I have right now, the module, and you see there is no XAFer file whatsoever, not in the application or in the module itself. That's the reason why navigation is so horrible right now. But basically, the thing is, if you look at the Xenial module, it's basically the same as a normal XAF module, but everything is like opt-in. It's not a reflection first. It is opt-in first. So I have to specify which modules I use and stuff like this. And the same stuff goes for the model classes I am using inside my application. And the same goes for the controllers as well. So nothing special here. Also in my blog post, there is a reason for that. It's like application performance best practices, and I guess XAF team has covered them as well. But now there's the interesting part, is that's the builder manager, I guess it's called, and every class in my solution is like a body type. It's called a model builder, and I have just done file nesting stuff. Like for example, I have an activity class, and I'm using the same properties as well always, but I'm using the only the necessary ones in the model. I don't have to specify this, but that's more convenience stuff. And then I have a model builder on top of that. So it is a model builder class that gets derived from model builder, and it says what kind of class I'm targeting for. And for the for the activity one, it's rather boring. But for example, if I go to the time tracker itself, it's like a time record management for tracking my own time and pause times and stuff like this. I can just say for this type, so it's the time tracker, use the navigation item, use this attribute, and it's the same thing as writing the attribute on top of the class itself. So it's basically a body type applying attributes to the type. The neat thing about it is it's just code. I can, for example, do some kind of trickery and say, okay, has caption, for example, and say, okay, let's do math dot random. Is it math random or is random new random?
I think it's random. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a next, and there's a toString, and there's a It's just to show that you can do anything with it. Time tracker. And now I have to stop it, I guess. Yeah. You can do whatever you want because it's code. You can't do that with attributes. You can do an if-else statement, for example, so you can provide attributes on the fly. It's the same thing, or it's the same technology used at using attributes. How's it called? Adding attributes at runtime.
When you extended the types, you mean?
Yeah, it's the thing is
extend types info. That's the
yes. It's the same thing. It's hooking up into customized types info. It's providing a rich DSL, adding and removing attributes at runtime and stuff like this. So just I have no idea if this would work, but I guess
the scary live presentation, right? Where you don't know if it's going to compile or not.
But I have to be honest. I like to see Twitch, YouTube, when people are trying to do something and it doesn't go the right way. It fails because that's real life.
It will fail horrible. I know it.
That's what happened to me all the time.
There it is. Where's
nice,
my
nice?
Where is no? It's the lock screen. That's the wrong one.
No, we were seeing it. It was random number and then time tracker. Yeah.
What is it? Windows Plus? What's the? Yeah, there it is. So you can see it's random number plus time tracker. So you can do everything you want to do in code. So that's the neat thing about being able to write it in code and not in attributes itself. So you can do all kind of stuff, reading out the database, stuff like this. You can do everything. That's the neat thing. I used this technique a lot, especially if I read some kind of client configuration file because he wanted to say, okay, that's not called client, that's called whatever, and then I can just change the captions. There's nothing you can't do with XAF at that point, but you have this single source of truth, and if you can write if-else clauses, it gets a lot easier. That's the neat thing about being able about the model builders. But the second thing that's the aspect-oriented stuff about this is like start time is a date time. Jose, how many times did you configure a date time and didn't correct with an attribute and didn't correctly remembered the syntax for the model for the edit mask?
I would say all the time.
Yes.
Every single time.
And that's the thing. The thing is, you can write extension methods on your own. And the neat thing about writing extension methods on your own is you can also namespace them on the type. So you can write, it looks a little bit hard to read in this example, but you have, for example, with short time format, it applies 2 attributes at once. And on this type, it has 3 attributes at once. And you can combine them as you like, because every builder step just adds an attribute. And for example, if you have, for example, down there, I have percentage format, and it's only visible on decimal types. And so you can do short currency, long currency, foreign currency, stuff like this. And you just have to specify it once and use it all over your whole application without remembering all the time the correct edit mask with P and display format. And that's not the only thing where that thing gets in handy. Sometimes you have a property editor where you have to specify more additional settings. There are some image property editor is a good example, where in the image property editor, you can specify more. Just let me check. I have no idea. but there are a lot of properties you have to, if it gets up, yeah. So basically, it's the same thing: criteria, detail view, items, filter string, and you have like all that kind of stuff that only makes sense together, like the data source criteria and the data source property stuff like this. So you can combine attributes together to make logical sense and reuse them. And that's model builders. It's everything they are is like they are a easy DSL about adding attributes to your business object. It's a little bit like in entity framework where you have this property and this property have an association. It's basically the same thing. I played around with doing that on XPO itself, but I found it counterintuitive. So, guys, any questions so far?
I put that one on the chat. I haven't got any. I don't know if everything is really following or everything is, or they will send the questions later. But I think that is really neat. Jose, do you remember in Xamarin, because we do a lot of Xamarin project, when we're trying to do all the UI in XAML, and then if we do it in C#, all the UI with all the extensions methods, it's more readable, and then we avoid to having to do type converters. We avoid to having to do a lot of things. So this is following the same. The readability is really.
And there is one thing that you might not notice at the moment, Javier. I mean, or maybe you didn't suffer through it, but I guess Manuel did, and I did also. And it was like, But the thing is that in the early days, the model got broken all the time. So sometimes you spend a lot of time.
Still does.
Doing like labels and stuff like that, and then the next day is gone. So you always, I mean, remember, Javier, that when we work on some projects, I always do it in a code way, and you always do it in the
attributes.
So it because we come from different times to SAF. I mean, when I started, I decided that, well, I will do everything in code. So if something broken or if I need to upgrade, I just copy the source and I just put it in a new project and it will work. Or if it's a library. But at that, I mean, the model doesn't break anymore at all. But it used to break every time that you compile. I mean, in the first version or something in the beta. So
the main problem is in a team environment when multiple people are working together. The XAFer file is now a lot better because they are trying to sort it alphabetically and they don't shuffle it around anymore. They used to do that because a lot because they didn't care or didn't know that will break people, and it broke me hundreds of times.
And you suffer through it. I mean, when you spend so much time working in a view, for example.
The main thing we suffered the most was like people in XCF, and I get it, that there is a barrier between having people to understand if my model editor gets up there. If I have the detail view of the criteria provider detail view, I have no idea what that is right now. And I change the caption here. Okay, let's take a better one. Activity detail view. And they have the activity name. And people are like, okay, let's change the name here. So, and now what happens? It doesn't get the item renamed, the label in the detail view gets renamed. And then you have like hundreds and hundreds of detail views getting renamed and hundreds of columns getting renamed, but they just wanted to say, okay, this thing is called for the user foo. Instead of going into the caption thing, I guess that's the main.
And then you have the code that maybe in the code it will say something, and in the model it will say something different. And maybe it's not even the view that you're watching. I mean, maybe it's another view, it's the default view, So
Yeah,
sometimes,
but that's the thing. Here it's called act name, and the detail view it's called other. And most of the time, people just want to rename the business object thing, not the detail view thing. And that's the main trap. A lot of new developers getting in, and so that's a way for me, at least, at a team lead. It was a way for me to say, okay, people, if you want to rename it at any point, then use just specify the caption here, and then it's global for at least the most majority of the whole product.
Manuel, can you do me a favor? I'm
Yeah.
curious about something. I mean, you have model builders for each type. So
Yes.
at what point of the application, of the lifetime of the application, do the builders
Gets it hook up? Yeah, that's the thing. It's just the builder manager stuff just hooks into customized types info. And it's basically there's nothing special about it. It's just a builder pattern about customized find types info, and trying to keep the application overhead as little as possible. The neat thing about that one is it totally plays well with model caching and stuff like this. And there is basically I showed it in my blog post as well, because Tolis was asking the same question as you, was like, what is the benefit, and don't apply it to the application model itself. And basically that's the thing. It's before the application model gets even created.
Yeah, I mean that's the neat part about that moment in the module.
Basically the same thing it's doing under the hoods is like oversimplified this.
I mean, it's more human readable, because you say like with date and this format and so on.
But there's a lot of optimizations going on with like duplicate attributes, when they should be replaced, when they should be added and stuff like this. Because you can have only one image name and only one caption.
Yeah, and you can override them, right? I mean, because in the Fluent pattern, you can do with image, this image, with caption, and then you do with image again, and you will overwrite the first image. So you always have the last build. I mean, the last part of the build.
And the neat thing is you can do this from another module as well. So you can go and load another definition from model builders and overwrite the stuff that got applied before. Or you can say
that's really neat. That's really neat.
Or you can say if customer A do this, and then you say else do the other one.
You build it in a different way.
You can do it whatever you like.
And also I think that there are like some side effects that are actually good. For example, you can avoid magic strings.
Yeah.
Because you can like do everything in code, and I love that, because I hate when I rename something and the text doesn't get renamed. So in this case, it will get renamed all the time. So it's nice in that sense.
I can show you a little magic thing if my IntelliSense would work right now, but I think it's totally great. I don't. It doesn't like Zoom very much, or my Studio broke. But there is also other syntax where you can say model. Oh no, it is there. Model builder dot create, for example, and then you have the smaller syntax. If you just do a small adjustment, like for a rate, and then you say okay, create, and then you have to pass it the types info, I guess, yeah. And then you can say okay, caption is has caption is like foo. It's everything is built around this fluid model syntax kind of stuff. So it's basically you can do it both ways, more object oriented or more declarative, I guess. that's kind more a kind of matter. Under the hood, the same thing comes out, and that gets me to the next thing. I hope people are still getting around, but it doesn't have to. It doesn't have anything to do with model builders itself, but it just plays very nice with each other. And that's the thing with layout builders.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with layout builders is I don't have any XAFer in there. Nothing. And there is no trickery. So where's my application? Oh, there it is. Just let me reset all my applications thing. Reset differences. No user differences at all. Nothing hidden. Yes. Okay. It's telling me something is broken. And the thing is, okay, that's my rate, my invoice screen, and as you can see, it isn't a normal XAF screen default generated. It's like you have the client and the invoice number here, but the subject, and then there's an empty space, and then an invoice date, a payment target, tax rate, stuff like this, and then a total sum with 3 columns, and then there is like a collapsal group and a positions list. It's not pretty, but it's there. And there is no model XAFer involved here, and there's nothing here in my model classes. So if I go to invoice, there's no trickery here. There's no attributes.
I like that approach. It's pure code, basically. Everything
It's
can be
pure code.
refactored.
Yes.
Everything you will know by code. I mean, by reflection, you can
Yes.
know anything also.
Yes.
So I know I love the approach. I think it's
Yeah.
also lighter in the compiler.
That I don't guess it's light on the compiler, but I don't think that's a main problem for us for right now.
At this moment,
but the thing is there are no attributes like the detail layout thing that XPO team provided a couple of years ago, two or three years ago, where I can say detail
But that
layout
one I still have
column
limitations.
number 1. It has a lot of limitations, yeah, and that's a thing. Because I have here my invoice model builder, and as you can see here, let's go in there. Oh, I have to go in the other direction. I have a layout builder attribute, and it has a type of invoice layout builder, and I can apply this layout attribute on the class itself. So just comment that out for now. But it really plays really well along. So I don't want to confuse people. It's the same thing as I will say this one. Yes. Okay, that's the same thing I just did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just applying an attribute with a type of a layout builder. And basically, it's a layout builder that's just a class that's derived from layout builder. It's not very important. It's just an abstract class with some convenience methods in it. And then the trick is there is a layout builder of T, but I don't use that here for a reason, because it's not finished yet. And there is a static import right here where I say, okay, there is a layout builder of T where you import the type you are going to build the layout for. And basically, this layout is rather boring, but it's I try to come up with something that's good enough for the demo, but not too confusing. So what we are having here is like there is a DSL about building vertical groups and horizontal groups and tab groups. You can make a tab, and in this tab you can do subgroup, subgroup. My laptop is dying. So
It's
subgroup
because of the
1.
coffee.
Yeah, I guess. And you can have like five tab groups or something like this. Oh, and in those tab groups, you can specify layout items as you would in the normal editor with drag and drop.
Mhm.
But the thing, the neat thing about this is it is code and it is easy readable. So by default, everything is a horizontal group in XAF, so you have to start with a vertical group to align things under each other. But in between the groups, everything is split up in percentage most of the time. And so you have two editors, one horizontal group. The first row is client and invoice number, and the next row is subject with an empty space. So they get grouped together in the next row. And so it goes on. But you also don't lose any capabilities that you have in the model editor. So you can specify captions or image names, or there's almost everything you can do. You can everything because you have you have a callback as well. For example, property editor options. Property editor options is like takes an O, and then now I have to because I can't see anything because there's the video in the way. That's it. Caption. Whoop. Caption. Property editing. Options, and this is a callback, so you can specify everything you would specify on an A model property editor as well. So if you have anything to do with the model, you can totally do that. So, for example, caption, blah. Oh, and now it's yelling at me because compiler issues with. But we can try some image name, o.image name. They removed the image name for the last from the last 21 release. But okay, yeah. But basically, the neat thing is it's just code as well, because it's building a layer tree, and you can say, okay, we can extract this thing to a method, for example, if it would let me. Because my studio is breaking. Yeah, but that's the. I hope that wasn't too confusing for the layout groups.
I think it was like nice. I mean, I always try to do everything in code. So for me, this is something that I will use basically all the time, because I mean, I don't like the drag and drop stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it's useful, but sometimes you don't know if you're doing it in the right node, or then you will have like what the attribute said in the code and what you will have in the difference, and you will have in each difference for each type of role and so on. And sometimes I got a call from a customer like, just change this label.
Oh.
And it takes forever to locate where that label is actually.
Yes, yes. And then I have to look. I said there. There it is. So it's still running.
I think we have a question, Manuel, in the chat.
Sure.
Is from Jacek. I hope I pronounced it right. And he's asking if this have an implication on the performance. I mean, does it have an overhead?
No, it has an implication on the performance. Yes, it does have the same. It has the same implications on the performance as any model generator updater. So if you have model caching on, then it doesn't affect application performance on after model cache is generated. I have another thing side by side that generates. I wrote about it, I guess, a couple of years ago. If you generate the model cache upfront at build time, your developers don't, your customers don't feel any difference at all. It's faster than relying only on model generation.
Oh, nice, nice.
The only overhead that's in there is the more attributes you add at runtime, the compiler can't add. There isn't a good way to speed that up right now, but it's in the milliseconds range. So
yeah, because that, I mean, you have to go through that process on the startup of the application.
yes,
Because you have to modify the type infos. So
yeah, everything you have to do with types infos is in is runtime.
But so you're adding that to the startup time of the application. But in general, people expect that the startup takes some time somehow because you're doing all the checks and blah blah blah. So it's expected actually.
I figured out that customized types info. We had an application with, let me guess, around 10,000 model classes over 100 modules, and I guess customized types info took 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, no one will even notice. I mean, yes, I think that to put your answer in a different way is like every line of code that you write will be an overhead in general. Yeah. So the answer is yes, there is an overhead because there is always an overhead. No, but it's not significant. It's not significant at all.
Yeah.
I think that will be the answer.
It is significant if you don't use model caching. Because if you rewrite the application tree all the time, the application model, that's really expensive. But if you use application caching, then the last version before the user gets the application in the hands wins. So you can do all kinds of transformations on the application model, and the last one wins. And if you cache that, and the best thing you can do is cache it and take the model file and give it to the user as the last layer. It impacts compile time, not runtime performance.
Nice.
That's the neat thing.
I will add here as to, let's say that I'm I am the younger SAF developer, the newer. I start like in 2014, 2015. But when I start, we use the model heavily. And we do for a lot of things. And I think that for a beginner, it's nice. It's something that you can get. The thing is when it starts giving you problem, and if you see as people start getting better and better at SAF, they start moving away from the model. And you realize that we did a survey on the Facebook group. And what model do you need more? When the people were getting a more SAF experience, they were using less module designer, less application designer, and they still use the model, but use it just for simple, for specific things. So every time when they are getting away from that.
Yes, that's the main thing I really like about this approach. It doesn't take you anything away. You can still use XAFers. It's a pick and choose. The thing is, the only thing is if you use a layout builder and you redefine the layout in code, it doesn't do anything if you have defined the layout in XAFers, in model differences, because model difference is a higher order. It's on a higher layer. So the thing is, if you go and introduce a layout builder for a class, you write the layout builder, and
you will end up with the layout in the end.
And you delete the stuff from the XAFers. You delete it from the difference file, and then it takes over, because it's underneath. And if you write the layout builder and it interferes, just comment it out. It's just like making a switch. If the attribute isn't there, it isn't registered. So that's the neat thing.
Okay, Manuel, we have another question, but it's already answered somehow. The same person is asking if you can build nested layout groups in the model builder. And I think you already show it, but I just wanted to put it in the video.
Yes.
So everyone like knows about it.
Just the thing is, it's just the tip of the iceberg I showed right now. What's possible? That the main idea, you can import whole other layout groups and stuff like this, doing all kind of stuff like columns inlay or import layouts from other stuff. There is too much of an API surface to cover. Right.
I think that Javier, you should put a note on this for the other meetups and the stand-ups. Is like, I think that this is a really interesting topic because it's a pain point for everyone.
I have to say that I already put a note for myself to push
to check it.
Manuel to send me a pre-release or something so I can myself test it. So next time when we get in the next meetup, I can actually tell him, hey, can you show this? This is really cool. And move forward.
Let's can we make a quick breakup on this right now? I think the demo stuff is covered, I guess. Questions, you can send me an email, just send me a tweet about it. It's just I want to get to my end with my slides, so I didn't waste my time making them. Okay, so the next thing, no, I'll go back. What's back on that one? No. Damn it. Where was demo time?
You know that people, when they know that you're a programmer, they think that you're really good in office stuff like Excel and PowerPoint.
No, I'm not.
And I suck at them. I mean,
so
totally.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg that Xenial framework is offering. There will be flexible and reasonable pricing. There is a lot of support of options. I am planning to release an alpha or closed beta in May. Thanks COVID-19. I don't think that is going to happen in May. So stay tuned. Almost the same support conditions as with DevExpress. It will be cheaper than DevExpress Universal, but around the same price point, I guess. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, no way to talk about platform. It's way too large. So keep an eye on it. I hope we can cover a little bit the next time.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of things that you should only show like in the surface because it's like quite deep. We can spend all day doing like, can you do this layout? Can you do this layout? I mean, but I think that it will be a great topic for another meetup because it's a pain point in all of. I mean, I will use it because I don't like to do it in the user interface. And Javier, how are we with the agenda? Like, should we move forward? I mean,
if Manuel, can you stop sharing so I can share mine for just a second?
Yeah, right there. Is it stop? Is it stop? That's stop for Okay. I have to go for little mass right now. Okay.
So let me share my screen. So we were talking about the model editor, so I wanted to quickly get this out of the way. So the model editor for .NET Core 3 is out again in a CTP version, and this is great because we can actually have our model editor for whoever needs it in our .NET Core projects. And not only that, if I'm not mistaken, because I haven't tested this and looking forward to do it, we're gonna start doing our model editor when we use our SAF application in Nuggets. And that's a great news when we're trying to do CI/CD, DevOps, and everything else. That way we don't have to have our DevExpress assembly installed in the computer. I know that Manuel used to have a big package generator when he generates all the DLLs in Nuggets, but that's a little more cumbersome. And DevExpress now is providing every package in Nuggets, so being able to use the Nuggets and also use the model editor is a big win-win for everybody. So a couple announcements before we move forward. our XPO Web API, that is a $4.99 product where we can actually have our own data store implementation that is in a way a replacement for the WCF data store when we connect our Windows application. We can over the wire send it to Xamarin, to any other app, to wherever we need it. We have a web API version of XPO that it gives you complete disconnection from our database. So we're not connecting directly to our database. Due to all the demand that we have had through that and all the COV problem that we have right now, we decided to make this free. So stay tuned, look forward to that. We're going to put more tutorials and more videos of how to use the XPO Web API, but that's going to be completely free from now on. Actually, in the same note, we are having in the XAFer training, I hope you're following this, we are having on XPO and Xamarin class free for everyone who wants to attend this Saturday. So everyone who has taken the getting started with XPO and everyone who has some knowledge from XPO, please feel free to register, because it does need some knowledge, basic knowledge from XPO or some basic knowledge from Xamarin Phone. But if you have that covered, feel free to attend, and we will do our best to show you how we can connect an XPO-based application with any other, remotely to any other Xamarin or Uno or any other application. And in that same regard, Jose will give you some more in-depth of that technology.
Yeah. Just give me 1 sec, Javier. I just need to open some links before I start sharing my screen. Well, no, I can start sharing now because we won't see a technical demo because it will, I mean, even though it's like only like 3 lines, it will take too much time.
That's coming in the next few days. We're gonna do a whole video of explanation how the XPO Web API is working, and we're going to do a whole post of that so you guys can follow along and connect any Xamarin application to your with the SAF backend. As long as it's a XPO base, you will be good to go.
Yeah. So if you want, I will share my screen because I just want to explain the architecture and where these fit on the ecosystem, and that will be basically it. I don't want to go like really deep into it, and we can do a separate video for that later. So I will share my screen. Oh, I cannot share. You're sharing.
Let me stop.
Share.
Yes,
my presentation is quite brief. It's only like three slides. So I
had way too much. Sorry.
No. I mean, I feel like I didn't do the homework now. Like when you have the other kid in the school showing the subject that you're going to show, and he showed it better than you don't have anything to show. So I feel like that at the moment. Okay, so let me start sharing my screen. Let's see, share. Okay, and let's share the full screen. So let me know when you're able to see.
I can see it.
I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, I will start with a little bit of history. Basically, like long time ago, XPO releases a data store version, which is able to serialize the communication to the database. So you can put the communication to the server in one side, and then put your clients in the other side, and everything in between will go through internet or through networks, actually. So this was like 2011. I think actually this existed before, like 2009, but this is the article that I found because we are archaeologists now. We're doing like digging into the past. So, well, for me, how all this started. Again, I don't have like as many PowerPoint slides, but it's quite simple. I love XPO. For me, it's the best way to do any type of data access. And for me, I have this thing that when I love a tool, I just want to use that in every possible way. And I don't want to move because you get really efficient in one tool. And when you have to switch from tool to tool, then you waste time. I remember that I was trying to go into the mobile area, like trying to make mobile apps. And at the beginning, there was no Xamarin. I mean, Xamarin was something that was, you pay for it. It didn't belong to Microsoft at that time. So I started with Accelerator Titanium, which is a JavaScript framework for mobile. And you have to relearn the data access, everything again. And I said, like, I wish I can do just this with XPO. And for a time, I thought, well, this will never happen. I should forget about it. But then Microsoft got Xamarin. And then also Developer Express decided to release XPO for free. That was one of the best news for me. Because
that
I was trying,
last year?
2018, I think. There should be an article.
Like 2 years, 2 years.
2 years ago.
2 years, yeah.
2 years ago. So basically, it's like, oh, well, now it means that I might be able to use it in Xamarin. And it was like, might be able to use it. I still don't know how I will use it. So we got one project with Javier where we need to do mobile application. And I told him, let's try to do it with XPO and see what happened. And we spent a lot of time going back and forward with Developer Express team about how this should work, like the WCF data store. But in the end, they told me like, hey, Jose, the problem is not in our side, is that Microsoft does have not implemented this yet fully complete, I mean, completely in all the other layers of .NET, like Xamarin for Android, and so on. So
there's only the WCF client libraries, but there is not the server libraries. But on the other hand, it's not everything in WCF client side is implemented on every platform.
Yeah,
I did go to this journey, and we scrapped and wrote it by hand. But that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, exactly. So
and the WCF is not moving to NetCore or anything like that.
No, it isn't. No, client is, but not server.
But the thing is that I used to love WCF. I use it a lot in a lot of projects. It's a really neat protocol, and it's really mature. You can do whatever you want with that. That you don't see it that much around. It's not because it's over. It's because it's really mature.
But if you can configure it, that's the only drawback.
Yeah, I mean, you know that I spend like hours and days and weeks and months trying to understand
under the hood. Yeah, it is easy under the hood if you understand the principles.
Yeah. So I went to like a seminar about that, like in 2008. So can you imagine how long ago it was? Well, so this is not working well in Xamarin. And actually, now the question that I got asked from my customer is like, they don't ask me like, which requirements do I need in my computer? The first question is, will this run in my phone or in my iPad? Yeah. So I used to say like, yeah, you can use the web version and so on, so on, so on. But then we decided, well, let's try to do something like, let's try to re-implement this. So we came with something.
Jose, and please tell about XAFers, because we did a lot of thing, okay. And that was another pain.
Okay, well, it's not as big pain. I mean, we were trying to decide how to communicate with the data on the server from the mobile client. So at the beginning, I thought, well, maybe the way to go is OData, because you can use the OData client. The one from that guy is called Object. I mean, the nickname of the guy in GitHub is Object. So it's neat, but it breaks a lot. And it also breaks depending on the version that you have and so on. And
it's limited because you can't do nesting like with GraphQL. You can't do any kind of nesting and sorting and filtering. And it depends on the protocol, and the protocol is very limited.
Yes, and actually I realized that I thought that, well, I can create my OData layer, then create all the OData client classes, and it will work almost the same as that. I thought that, but no, it didn't.
So you got one layer down the stack.
Yeah.
So
yes. Yeah. So then I said, like, well, we spent hours, days, weeks, months, nights, mornings suffering through it, and then I said, like, well, maybe it's not the way. So then we were doing a synchronization framework for some people that were working offline. And from that, a subproduct was this, which I'm going to present that moment with my 4 slides that I have. Hold on.
They're way more colorful than mine.
Yeah. This is overwhelming me because it's online and I don't know how to, if you press F5 to full screen, it doesn't do that. So let's see.
Press Shift F5, I guess, or press it's in OneDrive. It's on your
if you do it in the top, in the bottom right corner, there is a presentation mode.
Oh
in the
yeah.
project.
Yes, yeah.
How many MVPs do you need to run a PowerPoint? Okay, and I'm going to read because I mistake.
Did anyone see the ASP.NET community stand up with the dramatic zoom out? That's the dramatic full screen.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh, this is again, it's wrong. I did it in the wrong way. So it's like this. Okay, so basically, then we decide this is a subproduct of the synchronization framework.
Yeah.
So
for all of you, I didn't see anything of this.
Yeah, I mean, you just because you know how it works basically. So, well, this is the traditional architecture. We have all the data stores on one side on the left. So these are all the possible database connections, and not only the database, the data store can be implemented in many different ways. You can do proxies and so on. We will have some videos about that later. But you should imagine that in the left side, you have anything that represents your data. Then you have like a network communication, the TCP/IP protocol in most of the cases. And then with this, you will create the data layer, which is the connection to your data store and the threading, if you will use a thread safe or which type of dictionary you're going to use. So after that, then you have in the right side, the session and the unit of work, which is basically now the XPO level. So this is how it works, like in a normal scenario where you have the database around and everything goes through TCP/IP. And in this case, it's different because most of the mobile clients will not go in TCP/IP type of connections. Because if you go to Starbucks Cafe, they might not allow that protocol, actually. If you're trying to connect from your phone and you're trying to connect to your API, it will not work sometimes. So then what we did is we changed this to this. This is the new architecture. It's really simple. So you have the XPO providers in the left, whatever that means, whatever database that means for you. Then you have the network, then you have the web API in between, which is basically a ASP.NET Core application, REST API, which will translate the methods. Will serialize the information, send it back to we'll do the communication client server. And then in your right side, which is again XPO level, everything is transparent for you. You can do it, you can work as simple as if nothing happened in between, as if you're working in a desktop application. So that's somehow really neat.
I have one question about this. Is it, you have on the left side XPO providers, I guess that's a data store kind of layer where the real database is. So you have the network API level where there's some kind of transport level to the XPO Web API layer. And then you have kind of an XPO transparent proxy layer to the data layer, because data layer is on both sides, I guess.
Actually, no. The data layer is only on one side. In the left side is only the data store. Okay. So it's good because the server doesn't know anything about the clients. You don't have to have any reference at all. You can do it.
But you don't have. You can do it, but you don't have to have anything on the XPO provider side in terms of business classes. So you don't have to mirror the whole stuff.
You don't have to do it. Like the main problem is like you have to usually in a web API you have your server, you have to serialize that the information there, and then you have to do the opposite in the client for all the possible cases. So with XPO you don't think about it. You just use XPO as a normal XPO that you will use, and it will just work basically.
So you're using everything besides the second network layer as like a data store.
Yeah, basically I replaced the WCF data store with mine. So everything is like
with XPO Web API data store.
Exactly.
Okay.
This gives you a few opportunities that, for example, you will work on your XPO level with everything normal, like everything will be like just normal XPO. But if you include your class library on the left side, which is the XPO provider side, the server side, you can do heavy server-side operations in there and project them to the
like security filtering, blah blah blah
like
blah blah blah.
so you can do everything on the client side, but you also can rely on stuff on the server side for more heavy processing requirements.
That's a main point about Xenial itself, because it always plugs in on the server side if it can. So it's the same thing, but on the application layer, on the database layer. So another layer between the database and
yeah, the thing is about the layer architecture, and we were talking about that with Javier, is that Javier, what was the name of the book for that we were reading, the one with the design patterns? I mean,
for multipolar layered architecture.
They tell you like you have to decide your layers, and if you do it well, and I think that XPO did it really well. You can plug and play everything that you want in between of all the layers. So for me, that's the main. That's what I love about XPO is the layer architecture. So that's really nice.
The neat thing about it is, it's almost 15 years old, and
it's older than Entity Framework.
They only had breaking changes on this level once at 12.1 or something like this. Because they introduced like function protocol or something like this, where they really made a breaking change, but that was it.
I mean, it's just another interface, if I remember well, if we're talking about the same topic. So,
and that's the same thing with async, with the async stuff right now.
Yeah, actually, with
everything else
is a reimplementation.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and that's the neat thing, because it's layered correctly.
Yeah, so they did it really well. You notice it because in 15 years, there's almost no breaking changes at all. So, so they didn't change the way, the train of thought. I mean, they have this idea like really clear since the beginning, and they stick to it. So you can, I mean, this code, I have it for so long already. I mean, it was not published anywhere, just in my computer, but it just worked, even though it's like quite old somehow.
How hard was it to do the adapter stuff on the network images? Because you have the web API stuff. There must be some magic going on, marshalling the types and the select statements and all this stuff together. And how much effort was it to do like the adapter stuff? Because it's the thing between XPO providers on your slide that's called network. Of course, there is an adapter that adapts on the one side and to the data layer on the other side, and there's the XPO Web API stuff in between that makes that work. Because you say I can access from one side to the other, and you have to design your own protocol, or
no,
do you just, or
actually,
did you just some serialization, or
actually what we did is that we used ASP.NET Core Web API, and we rely on that infrastructure, and we basically we're serializing all the information to JSON, and we're doing some stuff in between that. For example, you can include compression, so you can compress your statements when they go and the data when it comes. So you will use less bandwidth.
So no black magic. It's just the main thing. The network XPO Web API, the network layer is just craftsmanship.
It's just a transfer protocol in between. Like you don't need this wheel, you need this wheel instead. So if you tell me there is no black magic, that will depend on the wizard that you're asking.
Yes. Okay.
Because it might look like black magic for some people, but it's really obvious for us that we've been here for so long, actually.
The thing is, every time I came across such solutions, and don't get me wrong, I really think that's a really great idea. It interferes with the way I am doing my application, because it's on the because I relate on the wrong level. And I think that this XPO Web API network, XPO provider stuff is on the right layer, so it can't interfere with me. Like calling you doesn't break anything because it's on the right layer. I can't break my application if I
yes, exactly. So basically, to introduce the web API, you will just need to register the provider and change the connection string,
and
and
that is
everything will be the same for you. So
yeah.
it's really neat because it's really easy to use. And we developed this because XPO now runs everywhere, as we were talking before
Yeah.
the meeting started. So basically, we want to do that. We want to run it everywhere. We want to run it in an IoT device. We want to run it in a webcam. We want to run it.
But it's also efficient because you say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm from an I run from an IoT device, and I say, okay, give me select top 100 temperature records because I need to an average, and then you send this query to the database, and the database is calculating it and sending me only the result back. I'm
Exactly.
right. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
And that's the kind of layering we are talking about.
Exactly. So basically, the performance. I mean, if you wrote your XPO application in the right way, because in XPO you can go wrong in so many ways.
Okay, that's normal.
Yeah,
with
the performance.
every arm, you can
yeah,
go the wrong way. Yeah.
Yeah. So the performance is good because actually we write in the console like the compression level. So you were sending this many bytes, and now you're sending this. So you see like you're saving bandwidth, and also you see how long it took to compress it. So you can right now at this moment it's not optional. You can just stick with. I mean, you just have to use it. But we will introduce a scenario where you can turn on and off compression, or you can introduce your own compression if you want. So
Manuel or J Manuel, I don't know how to call. But it's just a pull and pull. It's a push and pull, but it's not reactive.
No, it's not reactive. But so basically, what we decide is that this tool is great, and so many people ask for it. Like we got emails every day about this. So we decided to make it free. I mean, Javier just talk about that, and it will also be open source. Yesterday, I was working in the repository like 2 a.m. in the morning because I thought, oh, I don't have anything to show. I just have 4 slides. So now the repository is there. After we finish, I will put it like open and try to put some more documentation in it. But the neat about this is that, well, XPO is free. So I want this to be popular for Xamarin applications in general, because I think like XPO is the way to go. I mean, it's really is the design pattern that I love. So if I can,
it's for that's the thing. I am just thinking out loud. The main problem I am facing right now is XPO is great, but I have a lot of problems I need to solve, like in the opposite way, where I've pushed data from the client to the server, and the opposite way isn't that easy, and the other way around. And I am playing around with a lot of patterns, like with how to make XPO not only really responsive and push able. So it's reactive.
Actually, that was one of. I mean, I have it on my list. That's why I decided to open source it.
But that's the neat thing about the community.
Yeah, I mean that's why we decided to do this stand-up and so on, because I wanted to put it out there so we can get feedback from the people. Because when you have a closed source project, or sometimes you have a lot of like really neat projects that never leave your computer that no one see.
Yeah.
And we discussed this with Javier, and we said like, well, it's better for this to be out there and someone will work with this, that you think like, oh, it's really nice, and we will have it stored in our computer and that's it. So that's why we want to introduce it to the open source community, because we have some great ideas, but sometimes you don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
Because for me, I try to reduce my time. Like, okay, I have to work on this every day. It's my work. I pay my bills from this work, but I always have to like play time. Like, let's try to do this. Let's see how crazy can it go.
Sure.
Let's see if we break. So you need to reduce that. And the way, I mean, to make improvements takes time, and you need to play with them, make sure that they are right and is the right way to go, and then decide if you will include it or not. So now that this is open source, this doesn't rely on me that much. I mean, people can have their own force, they can do it in their own side. So it's not all the responsibility mine. So I think this is my last slide.
I'm sorry to interrupt it that much, but I didn't see it so far. So
yeah, so basically the repository will be here.
People are still here.
Oh yeah,
they are.
Actually, there is a question.
Incredible, they are still here.
Yeah, this is
so great. You're great.
Yeah, this is so interesting. So this is the repository. If you see, it's 9 hours ago. So I did it like I went to sleep, I woke up, I did it, and I went to sleep again. So everything that we have that we will be releasing in an open source way will be in this repository. And we will put this in all our videos and stuff that we're doing. So we will work on somehow the documentation. And Manuel, feel free to do to pull it and play with it. I mean,
I will.
And
the
also,
thing is, I am planning to open source parts of Xenial as well, but I'm not 100% sure on which level I can do that. But the thing is, I am really open source. You know it. Almost everything.
Actually, I was at the beginning of my developer life. I was not like I didn't like the open source community that much, especially because they said, "Oh no, you come from a closed source environment. You suck." It's not like that. I mean, it's not like one is better than the other. But the way that if you do open source, that your projects can grow faster. It's easier to grow. Somehow it's not easier, but you will go further. It's hard to explain the sensation, but
no, you get better feedback from developers.
Exactly.
The main thing I am struggling right now with going open source with Xenial at all, with full. Let me share. Are you finished? So
no, I'm done. Just let
done.
me. Yeah, basically, I just wanted to say that everything that we will be opening to the public will be in this repository. So we will like making it grow. Right now, it's only the web API, but we will add more tools soon.
Should we you have if like should we do some XAF community government, because you have like A-Dream bit frameworks? Should we pull forces together for an GitHub open framework repository kind of organization stuff?
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, we will have to talk about that, but I think like I will try to put at least everything that is XPO related that we can open source. It will be here. Yeah. Because I want the people from Xamarin actually to use it more. I mean, most of them are using SQLite ORM or Entity Framework for.
The
good thing about these meetups is that ideas start coming up, because right here there is maybe later on there is a hackathon, there is a summit, there is something. So we'll see what we get there. And again, one thing that we have to do is next time we're gonna put a XAFers community stand-up part 2, something like that. Not Blazor, because we haven't talked too much about Blazor.
Well, I have something to say. Exactly. I have a slice for that. Just one. So hold on. Just to wrap up my 4-slide presentation is like, okay, now that we have this layout, you can work with XPO on all these platforms, which is .NET Core, .NET Full, and it will run on Windows, what happened?
Left button.
Yeah, well,
I struggled a lot.
Yeah, so basically now your XPO code will run on .NET Core, .NET Full, and that means that it can work on Xamarin, Android, like on the versions of Xamarin, which is Android, iOS, and you name it, because there are like 14 versions of Xamarin. It does run on Linux. I will do a demo about that. Actually, I do it in Ubuntu most of the time, but we can use any other distro if you want. And of course, it does run on Windows. It will be a shame if it doesn't run on Windows. And basically, just to wrap up, here I should I didn't found the icon for Blazor, because somehow Blazor is one of the other flavors of .NET in general. I mean, it's not like a pure platform. But
it is a pure platform, but it's based on Mono. For
yeah,
now, and on .NET 5, it's like .NET 5. Yeah.
I'm waiting for .NET 5 so I can just put one icon instead. It's like just running everything that is .NET. But it's good to tell the people exactly it will run on Linux, it will run on Android, it will run on iOS, it will run on Mac.
That's one thing I wanted to share about Xenial as well. Is like it runs from .NET 4.6.2 till .NET 5, so it runs on everything except its WinForms and except its web forms.
Mm-hmm.
But almost everything I showed today runs smoothly on Blazor. I don't invest that much time on web forms anymore, except for consulting.
Actually, we decided to stop supporting web forms. Whatever that we do that is new will only be for Netcore and so on. Because
but everything else, console application, data layer, services, everything except for web forms. And WinForms is like, it's good to go. It's easy. Basically.
So basically, this run on all these platforms. I will do a demo for it in each platform that I can imagine. I told you, Manuel, that I want to do EUT, refrigerators, everything. But since we own
you will get a swatch from me.
Yeah. Yeah, make it run there. Okay, so
Jose, I'm gonna stop sharing your screen.
Yeah,
I'm gonna share mine quickly. We have I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Just let me say the name again. Jason Kosinski. And he's he's saying next time please talk about Blazor a little bit. So before we grab this up, I'm gonna say a few things about Blazor. So Jose has a video about Blazor on his channel in Spanish.
It's awesome.
And
I didn't understand the word, but it's awesome. But
nice.
He does everything in English and in Spanish. And
so he has a Blazor video here on his website and his YouTube channel talking about the preview of Blazor. And in mine, I do have one as well in English. If you can go, if you can take my Spanish accent, but
and
you can actually.
And every time they do a video in Spanish, I try and I fail because I don't understand Spanish that well. But
so you can take a look at here what it was actually in that moment.
You're really amazing because you're doing all the talks in both languages. That's really awesome.
I mean, that's a trick. I mean, it takes time to do, like, because you say like, oh, we will use the same video. Edit is harder. Edit a video is really difficult.
Yeah. That's the thing. I invest in coding.
yeah. So for me, it's like a relax. It's like a way to stop coding and go to do some other stuff. Javier, continue because we need to talk about.
So no, quickly. We're gonna grab this up in a little bit, but I just wanna say, if you take this, if you watch the English version or the Spanish version, you will see what was going on until that point. Right now, there is only this new blog post talking about, because in that moment there was not user authentication. There was just a login screen, but there was no permissions, there was no log off, there was nothing. And right now, if you see in the main demo that they have up in the roles, they actually do have permissions.
Can we grab Dennis the next time?
That will be nice. Yeah, that will be nice. That will be nice. I grew Dennis and Apostolis about XAFer introductions, and they say that they are a little busy right now. They will get back to me later on, so hopefully they do. But and also it will be nice. I think that maybe not in the next one, but I think that if we keep doing this regularly, they will like, because the thing is about consistency. If you keep doing it, and the community will start showing up more and more. And if we are able to make Dennis show up, that will be a win-win for everybody. Everybody can ask questions. Everybody can do anything. So for JSEC, Kosik, and everybody else that can watch the video later, they already have, if you see, let me move this here. They already have the logo for the user permission, type permission, navigation permissions, and everything else that we show in the video, like validation, and it's a really modern look UI. So
Yep.
I'm really excited about this. It's not that there is a lot of more things that we can say beside the video, but I do believe that this will actually it will change everything. WebAssembly and Blazor and everything, it will, and it's not only on web, with Electron, with PWAs, with everything like that, we are going to have a different world 2 years from now. At least that's my opinion. But again, like if you check and if you resize, it's looking actually good. So we can even get away from Xamarin a little bit sometimes for more simple application that doesn't require an accelerometer or a gyroscope or something crazy. So for at least
or video chat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, Manuel, we're going to hold you to that because a lot of people are asking in the Facebook group.
People still left in the chat room. Should I demo something next time for a video chat?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I guess we have 2 hours now.
Yeah, I think that's enough.
Yeah, we
I
will
really
have another
enjoyed
question, actually.
I really enjoyed the conversation.
Javier, maybe you should take a note on the stuff that we cannot answer right now, so we can answer them in the description notes of the video.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the best thing if we put that on YouTube or something like this, and people are just for everything that's unclear, they just write a note, a comment, or just write a mail or something like this. Especially for Xenial, I am hard at work right now. I didn't sleep for days, I guess, but that's for Corona, and I had to carry around a lot of how is it called, mobiliary, you know. My sister moved her flat from one place to another, so my arms are burning.
so you were the manpower who moved all the furniture from one building to the other.
Yes, yeah. But the really bad thing was police didn't like that we moved from A to B. So my sister is going to have some kind of fee to pay. It's like 250 euros or something like this. They're really strict in Austria.
It's like now it's like Corona time, and you decide to move flats. So
she has to leave her flat in.
Yeah, I mean you cannot stop life.
10 days.
Well, I'm moving the end of this month, so hopefully I don't have to pay anything.
Well,
but you aren't in Austria. I don't guess there are that many assholes there.
Well, no, again, yeah, go for it, man.
But the thing is, okay, they have to do their job, so okay. But it's beautiful weather.
Yeah, well, everybody, I just want to say I'm excited about keeping this going. I'm honored to be here with you guys, and hopefully we can get Dennis, we can get Apostoli, and more people showing up here and just talking about it. It doesn't. Yeah. The good thing I like about this, it doesn't have to be formal. We don't have to follow a whole agenda. We just informal, talk about what we like, what we love, what we want to do with it, and go from there. So thank you everybody that show up. Thank you everybody that is watching the video later, and have a great day, everybody.
Okay.
Stay safe, people.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.